What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we're going to take a look at LSU's FPI ranking. The FPI has them in the top 4, at number 4. Their FPI is 22.1, which means against an average team on a neutral field, they would win by 22.1 points. So yeah, they're really high on LSU, but they do have them a good bit below Alabama and Georgia. When you look at that FPI number, there is a gap between the top 3 and then the rest of these teams. So Georgia's 27.4, so they'd be about a 5-point favorite against LSU, and Alabama would be even more than that. They'd be about a 6-point favorite against LSU on a neutral field. I tend to think that LSU is right there with Georgia and Alabama, maybe even better than Alabama. In fact, I do have them ranked ahead of the Crimson Tide. So I disagree with that a little bit, but still having them up there at number 4, I think that's pretty accurate. They're projecting them to go 9.6 and 2.6, and that would include potentially an SEC championship game. So they're basically saying, 9-3 or 10-2. That's the expected record, or maybe even 10-3 if they get back into the SEC championship and win or lose that game either way. So 9-3, 10-2 regular season. That's what the FBI predicts for LSU. How about going undefeated? Only a 1.2% chance that LSU goes undefeated. And I get it. They play Florida State in the non-conference. They've got to get through the SEC. Then they'd have to get through an SEC championship game. So I understand that number being low. But really, 1.2%, that's way down there. Of course, Alabama's at 13.6%. They've also got a pretty tough schedule with Texas in the non-conference, but I think LSU's number is closer to 10%. 1%, I'm not buying that. I think there is a chance. It's not a great chance, but there is a chance that this team can go undefeated. Again, they do have a tough schedule, but they're going to be really good. And then you look at their chances to get to a bowl game, 99.9%, so pretty much guaranteed to at least get 6 wins. And then how about winning the SEC West? They're at 20.4%. I disagree with that. I think that Alabama and LSU are both right there at the top. Probably I'd put them both in the 40, somewhere in the 40s, and then I'd give a little bit of a percentage to some of the other teams like Texas A&M and Ole Miss, maybe even Mississippi State. But I think it's really between Alabama and LSU, and like I said, both teams should be up there, in my opinion, up in the 40s. LSU only at 20.4%. Alabama is at 74.3%. So they're not really giving anyone else a chance to win the SEC West. They're saying it's going to be Alabama more than likely. If it's not them, maybe LSU. But they are definitely high on Alabama. And I do think Alabama's percentage should be higher because they get LSU at home, even though I do, again, have LSU ranked ahead of Alabama. Because Alabama gets that game at home, I can definitely see why their percentage should be higher, but not that much. That's an outrageous gap between those two teams. Winning the conference, 7.1% chance that LSU wins the SEC. I think that number is pretty low. You look at Georgia at 49.3%, Alabama at 40.9%. That takes up most of it. That's about 90% right there. Doesn't leave much room for anyone else. I think Tennessee has a decent chance. I think they should be up there, 5 to 10%, somewhere like that. And I think LSU should definitely be higher. Maybe change their numbers around. Put the win division number and the win conference number. So 20.4% to win the conference, I think, would be a little bit more accurate. So let's go next to the playoff. 23.7% chance that they make the playoff. We see this trend in the SEC, a higher percentage chance that they make the playoff than it is that they win the conference. I agree with that. Again, I think that win conference number should be higher. Playoff number, I think it's pretty accurate. I think there's probably about a 25% chance, maybe a little higher for LSU. Just because of the schedule, they have Florida State, they have to play at Alabama, then you have to get through an SEC championship game. So the path is going to be tough, but I think there is a path. I think they definitely could make the playoff even without winning the SEC. Let's say they lose only to Alabama. Alabama goes on to the SEC championship. LSU's sitting there at 11-1. Yeah, they could get in. So there is a path for them without winning the conference, but I think that conference number should be higher. Playoff number maybe a little bit higher, but overall I think that's a pretty fair number. And then make it to the national championship, a 10.3% chance, meaning they would be underdogs in their playoff game according to this. More chance that they would lose that playoff game than there is that they would win it. 10.3% chance to make the national championship. I think that's pretty fair. I think that's a pretty good number there. And then win it all, a 4.1% chance to win the national championship. I probably would bump these up, though. I'd say right now, winning the national championship, I'd put LSU probably closer to 10%. Making it to the national championship, maybe 15 to 20%. Making the playoff, maybe closer to 30%. So I do think the FPI is underrating LSU in terms of these percentages, even though they are really high on them, putting them up there at number 4. I just don't think there's that big gap between Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State and everyone else. I think LSU is right there with those teams heading into 2023.